Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Makers on Tap, the podcast where makerspace directors drink and talk about making stuff and maker culture. Tonight, we have a special guest. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, my name's Dezz. I'm a digital artist / graphic designer. I've been using vector artwork since 2007, and only lately I've been using Procreate, but yeah, all my stuff is vector, and that's what apparently got me a little bit into the maker community.
Nice. Who else we got here tonight?
Got Joe.
And Chris.
Welcome back, everyone.
Super full
crowd tonight.
Oh yeah. 2 weeks in a row, baby. I'm making my comeback. That's what this is.
Joe's gonna have to come down more to supplant you now.
Right. So Dezz, what's like right off the bat, what is your handle?
My handle you mean on my social media?
Yeah, for either Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram you can find me as Dezz259. That's DEZZ 259, and on Twitter is at Dezz Malone. Again, DEZZ. Double Z is to give it more sass, I guess. But those are my only two social medias. I tried having a Facebook page, but when I was receiving more notifications to promote posts rather than my actual post was when I was like, yeah, you know what, Zuckerberg, I'm not giving you my money, man.
I feel that. I feel it.
Yeah.
So, so what got you into, just into the creating, sphere? What was your first big, jump into the art sphere?
Well, I've been drawing since I was very little. I've been drawing pretty much since I have memory, I guess. That eventually got me to want to study graphic design. Now, the funny bit is that when I was in graphic design, the first semester they teach you Adobe Illustrator, and I became completely obsessed with it. Like totally obsessed with Adobe Illustrator. I started using it for all sorts of drawings and just anything. Coupled to that my Photoshop class was not what I expected. It was not digital illustrations I wanted, but it was more like digital retouch and compositing and all that stuff. So that made me further go into more vector artwork. Eventually, one of my close friends, he showed me the artwork of an artist called David Lanham, and I was immediately captivated by his style, and I started using that similar style, but started building up on it. And now, if you see, for example, one of my stickers is one layer of color, 2 layers of shadow, and 1 layer of very subtle shine to it. If you see my actual for fun quote unquote work, it doesn't even look like Illustrator. And people tell me, Dad, you should just start using Procreate more. And I'm like, why? I like to kill myself in the computer for a straight month working on this, so I can then show it to people and be like, huh, you've never seen this stuff, have you? So that's pretty much in a nutshell, not so nutshell, what's got me into creating art.
So,
okay.
For somebody who's not a graphic designer, what's the difference between Illustrator and vector art and Procreate?
Okay, so that's it's basically raster and vector art. Raster is Photoshop, Procreate, you name it. You can, those files are usually less heavy. No. On the contrary, they're kind of heavy-ish, especially if you're trying to make them for printing. There are a lot of commodities to it in Procreate and in Photoshop because you have brushes, you have contrast and all that editing, all those editing tools you have in Photoshop. The problem is if you try to scale that work, it's gonna get blurry. It's gonna become pixelated. Like, have you seen those ugly pictures in the PowerPoint presentations your teachers used to show? That's what happens with raster images, because you are stretching it. It's like grabbing a piece of your skin and stretching it. Like the birthmarks, everything is gonna look weird. Vector, on the other hand, it's actually like the computer creates them with mathematical operations. So it's like the computer is like, okay, you put this point here in this coordinates and this other point here in this other coordinates. So the moment you increase them, you're not stretching an image. You're just changing those coordinates. Like, you don't have to calculate any of this. This is extremely boring, but you don't have to calculate any of this. Like, the computer does it for you. What got me also into Illustrator is that my technique eventually made everything look hella smooth and like always on focus. It sometimes can give me a little bit of issues, but I've already like found ways to circle around it to, okay, I want to make this piece look out of focus, so I'm gonna blur it here, I'm gonna darken it there, etc., etc. So, like, those are the two main differences. Oh, and Vector, you can always print it. You only export it as a PDF or as a TIFF or whatever you want, and you can rescale it and you can print it easily. Vector art is also used in some animation software, like I think it's now called Adobe Animate. I met it as Flash. So, like, that's a lot of cartoons are made with vector illustration.
You guys need to cut me off, because I'm looking through this. If you don't cut me off, I'm about to go off on a tangent.
Not at all.
Do it.
Okay.
On.
So you started. Have you done any animation stuff?
I did. I studied 4 years of digital animation, both traditionally and 3D.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's a pain in the butt. It's literally like
absolutely
an absolute pain in the butt, because you have to draw every keyframe and you have to take care of the principles of animation, stretch and squash and anticipation.
Well, I mean, the main reason I asked is I see one of the people that you worked with was Ego Raptor. Did you actually work with him, or was that like just a commission that you did for him, or?
No. Oh, you mean no. That was a fan art. Oh, I wish I knew Ego Raptor.
Okay, I was like, damn, this boy knows Ego Raptor. Like, no. What the fuck?
I'm a huge Game Grumps fan. Like,
oh, hell yeah, man. Like,
time.
the amount of, like, his old shit, like, any of the Ego Raptor stuff, like, the Pokemon stuff, or even, like, I was about to be like, the fuck you mean we just got this dude on? Like,
No. I was doing a sketch of him last year. I never got to finish it because, parenthesis, my main line of illustration, I always draw girls in armor. I've been inspired by the video games Mass Effect, Halo, StarCraft, Destiny, all that stuff, but they're always girls. And sometimes I do, I've drawn like 2 guys. One of them was Ego Raptor, and when I was drawing the beard, I was like, I need a break. I actually need a break, because facial hair is it's just a nope. But
weird,
no,
yeah,
it's weird. But no, I wish I knew Ego Raptor, because that would be a dream come true. Like, senpai noticed me.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other like big one that we actually just met her this past year was Jenny Vegas. We met her up at C2. So I saw your Sister of Battle artwork for her, and I was like, "Fucking yes!" Like,
oh, actually, I didn't know you knew about Jean Vegas. I drew her in like I started chatting with her. She's an amazing person. She's sweet as hell.
Yeah,
and I started chatting with her, and she posted something like, "I'm not that popular to cosplay this armor," and I was like, "No, yeah, you are that popular, and you're gonna make it pink." And she was like, "Oh my god, I want to cosplay a pink armor!" And out of that, we got an idea to like I was like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to draw you in full detail, like all badass and stuff. And I drew her in a pink armor, and it's like electric pink. It was a joke, but at the end it looks so good, and it's something I kind of love about illustration. Like you can grab any concept, you can grab it. I don't know. You can say, hey, draw a kitty armor, draw a cat themed armor, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna make her like a head, something like a visor, but it's gonna have ears, and the tail will be mechanical. Like you can grab any joke and turn it into something serious, and that doesn't look like a joke at all. But yeah, I drew her, like you said, her Sister of Battle sticker was something I did for, like, I was practicing on Procreate, and eventually I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just draw her, like, no limit. I'm just gonna go bananas on her.
No, that's like awesome, because like that's one of the dream builds that me and my partner have, is we'd love to either do a Sister of Battles or a not the Undying, who's the Chaotix,
Chaos Marines,
Chaos Marines, or the crazier ones that do blood magic and whatnot,
Korn, Zinch, Slanesh.
Something like that, yeah. Because we were wanting to do something with like all the skulls all over it and whatnot, and just be really like out there. But like, no, like you're. So what's something that like you're doing a lot of armor kind of stuff? What's been some of your favorite stuff to like really do with that? Like, because just going from like kind of the beginning of your Instagram and coming towards the top, you've definitely improved. Where has been some of the challenges that have made you actually like improve that?
There's a particular model that she's a very good friend of mine. You can find her as Nate Karenlit with K. She, like, for some reason my concepts with her were always over the top, like extremely over the top. Her first drawing was like a Killzone themed kind of Hellgast armor, and she was, I would say, the first that made me push my limits, because I went from drawing very like not so simple armors, but like I went from something medium complex to going crazy. Couple of years ago, I decided to draw two girls in like a single drawing. One of them was like in a red and black armor with wings, and the other was like all angelic with a halo and yellow wings.
I literally just pulled this up as you clicked on it. Yeah.
That was, I had to split the file in two parts because there was no way. I have a MacBook Pro 15-inch, like almost top of the line. My MacBook, I was like, I don't want to melt my baby. I just don't want to melt.
Right.
Another challenge that came a little bit due to a tragedy. On December, I lost 4 of my original files. My MacBook shit the bed. Like, I accidentally duplicated. Well, hit the command to duplicate. It started duplicating my entire images folder, and I was like, holy shit, no, I don't want to duplicate 1,000 pictures. So I clicked cancel, I clicked Command Z, and yeah, Command Z did delete the duplicates, along with all my files from June last year to the beginning. So I didn't back up 4 of my files, and now the challenge that I'm facing is I set myself to redo the themes of those I lost. The first was Jean. One of the files I lost was a girl, like a red-haired, with a green armor with wings, and behind her was like several battle cruisers, like looking very epic. Jean is in that same setting. Like I drew her with her back towards the viewer, and there's a window behind her, and there's another view of those battle cruisers. So now my challenge is, how can I redo this without redoing it? Like, how can I? I'm either drawing the same girl with a different theme, or I'm gonna attempt to draw like something with the same colors and stuff. I lost another file that was a girl looking at herself in the mirror, and the mirror one had red eyes and like a very like white and red and black armor and all quote unquote evil. And the one giving her back to the camera was like all in a blue armor. And I'm gonna try to redo that, like to do another one with like a mirror and stuff. So that's a little bit of a challenge, so to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, you're really obviously you're very passionate about art and Noma, and like that's I'm guessing a huge part of your life. And I think one of the biggest things that we kind of have talked about on our podcast a lot is maker burnout, and especially it happens when you take something that's a hobby of yours and you make it into a full-time job. How have you kind of combated that to where it's like you're obviously doing something that you love a lot, you're obviously doing that a good amount of the time, if not full-time. I don't know your whole spec. How do you still enjoy doing that, and like what are ways that you curtail to continue to enjoy doing that?
There's a simple answer to that. Like the problem solved itself. Big pieces I never do. Like I've never have them up for sale. Why? Because nobody in their sane mind is gonna pay me for 1 month of work dedicated on a single piece. Like when they tell me how much would you charge for, I don't know, for example, I'm looking at one that I have printed on the wall. It's like a girl like kneeling, well, not on, sitting on her knees with a helmet between her legs and the white armor and everything. Every time I look at that one, I go like, I don't know, I would charge $900 because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of vector work. So the commissions that I do are like more simple sketches that I can get done within a week, and stickers and stuff like that is more cartoonish. But still, with this kind of technique, there's always a sort of burnout. There's always a burnout. When I finished that piece that was the two girls with wings and everything, blah, 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 I had to take off like a week. Like I was like, I don't want to look at the program in 1 week. So my eyes are gonna fall off. Sometimes I spice up the concepts a lot. Like, I don't know, if I'm doing, let's say, an evil-looking girl with yellow eyes and stuff, the next one I want to do something blue, something cute. I try to change the shapes. I try to innovate in some ways. Most of my art is based on nude models. So another way to break that sort of burnout is, okay, you know what? I'm gonna flip the finger on Instagram. I'm gonna draw a half naked one. So how do I make her look sexy? How do I make her look not erotic, but like artistically erotic, but not make it actually like porn? Because that's one of my nopes. Like if somebody tells me, "Hey, can you draw porn for me?" I'm gonna be like, "No, I'm gonna feel weird."
Right.
No. So like I will draw, I don't know. I'm gonna think, okay, I want to draw this one like she's taking off the suit, or like this one with. I actually have one that she's pulling her skirt down, and you can see I drew her panties, and I actually on the stretchy part of the panties I wrote my other. Hold on, I need to remember what it says. My other panties are armored. I actually wrote that on the, but like
fair enough.
But her chest is completely naked, and she only has the armor on her shoulders and stuff. That sort of like idea and methods, like it's it keeps things going fresh. Because it's not the same to draw metal than to draw something that is like glass or crystal than to draw like a boob. And boobs are difficult to draw. I must admit it. They are very difficult to draw. But that kind of thing keeps everything like fresh.
Well, a lot of your stuff is pretty hyper realistic. Like there
Yeah.
is cartoonishy aspects to it, but a lot of your stuff is like, damn, I feel like I am looking at almost a photograph of somebody who just had a hell of a lot of LEDs on.
Yeah, thanks.
Like it's pretty fucking awesome.
It's thank you. It's a lot of the work that goes into my art is exactly making it look smooth.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of vector artists out there. There's many
So
artists. Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
If you had like if you had a dream piece that you're wanting to work on, for me right now, just to give you an example, I would love to be building a Gundam right now. That's my dream cosplay that I would love to be making. Like I'm torn between like a Wing Zero or an RX-78. Like I would love to make those. Do you have a piece that you're like, you know what, like fucking, although Mass Effect Andromeda sucked, like fucking, there was a piece of armor from there that I really want to draw.
I actually enjoyed Andromeda.
Did you really? Okay.
I actually enjoyed
Like
Andromeda. I would give it a solid 8. There is
Fair
a piece,
enough.
I don't know. I would like my impossible project will be actually draw like a girl in full armor, like head to toe, floating, and with some. I've always had like a concept in my head that is like, instead of having like the back of the armor has like tentacles, mechanical tentacles, like Doctor Octopus going out.
Okay.
But I tried drawing tentacles once, like mechanical ones, and even from the sketch I couldn't do it. It's very difficult. It's very time consuming because one would say, oh, draw one segment and then just copy it. No, you cannot do that. You cannot do that because it has to look flexible. And I've only drawn, I don't know, one quote-unquote full body, and it's not even full body because it's the one that I mentioned that she's sitting on her knees, so you cannot see the boots. But those are mostly constrained due to my computer. Like, if I would do that one, I would probably have to split it in 3 separate files. And also the fact that if I almost lost my mind drawing those 2 girls because it took me a month and a half, it took me 6 weeks to finish them. Full body armor, I don't know. It's just like I don't think I feel this suicidal yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're constrained by your equipment right now.
Sort of,
and
yeah.
like you're wanting to make better stuff, but you're doing that. So what are ways that you found like to kind of like combat that? Like, I really want to do this, but like I can't because my equipment can't currently do that, so I have to do it like this.
The way to do that is, like I mentioned, or is split the files. If I'm drawing 2 girls, I'm just gonna split half and half. Like, this girl goes here, this girl goes here. In the end, I just go copy paste between just select the full layer and copy it in the other one and arrange it.
Yeah.
The other one that I've noticed is that, and this has to do with compositing and even a little bit of photography. You want the user to drive their attention into one spot. If I draw a full body armor, like head to toe, like I said, the attention, like, she's gonna look tiny on a small screen, and even on my MacBook or anything, she's gonna look very small. So what you want to do is just make a focus. Like, for example, right now I'm drawing a girl, like, she's facing forward. Ironically, the concept of this one is plague. Doesn't have to do anything with the current outbreak. I had the idea like months ago. But like my idea on this one was, you know what? I'm gonna concentrate the attention on her eyes. So I made her skin very pale. I gave her like a sick look because she has like very very like pronounced dark circles under her eyes, and I made her eyes red, bright red. So instead of saying, okay, if I want to draw her like with a huge background, everything, no. Instead of that, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna draw this bit. I'm just gonna explore this part. There are other ones. I have one that was inspired by Soldier 76 from Overwatch, and I was like, you know what? I could have gone full body on that one, but I also went like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna draw her like this. I'm gonna focus on this one and this part. I'm gonna make her look sexy. I'm gonna give her a rifle and stuff like that. Like you have to compensate quantity with quality. Like instead of making a huge piece, and I don't know, the details sprawled everywhere, and I don't know, taking me 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I'm rather gonna do something that I can devote my attention more into smaller places than the whole picture.
I'm kind of the same way. Like I like smaller, more focused things than things that spread me out over a huge amount of time and a huge amount of effort. I tend to lose focus.
Yeah, it's also, it sometimes happens to me as well. Mainly because it takes so long to finish a single piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes me like, sometimes I start going like, oh my god, it's 4 p.m. and I woke at 8 and all I've done is watch Game Grumps on YouTube and I'm just circling around Instagram. So like, there are some times where I start losing focus. What I usually do to help me with that is also like try to see where I can cut corners, but without making it look bad. Like if I have a very similar piece of armor somewhere, I try to go to the previous one and say like, okay, I can use these shadings, like these vector objects. I can just use them below and just change the color, maybe add a little bit detail here and there. And like if you see the piece like zoomed out, you're not gonna notice it. Like you're not gonna notice it. So like you have to some other times, I don't know, if I don't feel it, and this happened this week. Like I was finishing the hair of this girl, so I was like, I don't want to start drawing all the armor. I don't want to start shading it. What can I do? Okay, I'm gonna look at it like zoomed out, and I'm gonna, I don't know, work on the lights, and I'm gonna change this thing here that I don't like because her skin tone was not looking good, and all of that. It doesn't require the same focus as my usual work. It's like the difference between, let's say, actually drawing with a pencil and applying filters in Photoshop. Like that's the difference. Like so, it's more light work, but it's work that you have to do regardless, because in the end, like you have to make the piece look good, like give it better illumination, and all of that I've learned it. Like literally in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years. Like if you look at my pieces from 2015, 2000, even some of 2014, they look bland. They look more bland than the color beige. And eventually I learned, you know what, I have to put an ambient light here. I have to make the armor reflect that light. You know what, this girl, I'm gonna give her like a green light on the left, and the green has to go with this color. It's a lot of color theory in there, but all of that work it helps like fight the when stuff gets stale, and it helps also differentiate each piece from one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then you could look at them, you could say, oh, well, these look like they have the same background, But once you start giving them light and all that stuff, it's completely different.
So that brings up an interesting point. Like, there are so many little things that you pick up over the years that make your art and like any detail in a project better. If people are doing vector art and wanting to make things like you're making, do you have any tips on things that they should watch out for in their art as they're creating to make it look better, more polished, more finished?
Yeah. Well, this is a tricky question. Like, I don't want to sound smug, but if anyone wants to try out my style, the first thing I would tell them is have the patience of a saint, because you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna be able to replicate it. But like, I've actually advised a lot of people. Like, the first thing I tell them is color theory. Color theory and ambient light and reflections and stuff like that. They help make a little, like, even a simple piece like a sticker, like a chibi, it can set them apart immediately. You can have literally no layers of shading. You can make it flat. But if you add a little bit of light and reflections and rim light and all that stuff, it's gonna make a huge difference. That's something that I would that I would advise to another artist. Like, and it doesn't take much time. It doesn't take a lot of time to do it. In case the ones that are to look polished, in Illustrator, like, the way that I use it is very unorthodox. Like, very, very unorthodox.
Yes. Looking at your art, I don't know how you're doing it.
Yeah. It's very unorthodox, but what I always tell people is, especially in vector art, is keep your lines clean, like, make everything flow. I don't know, an advice that a friend she lives in London, she gave me was, watch out for how thick the lines are in some places, because if you make every single line look the same width, it's gonna look boring. So you have to make it seem like it's a comic, like you're actually inking with a pen or with a brush. But like, the biggest advice I would give in regards, even for polishing, is color and how to manage some gradients of color. Like, that's the best advice I can give to anybody.
Okay. And that's what I was looking for. Like, that stuff is so subtle, but it really makes your work stand out when you pay attention to the right things.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's like, it goes a little bit back to what I mentioned about light and mood, because, for example, Jean's piece, her background, I call her piece, like, in my mind, I'm like, she's the Miami of my Armor Girls, because it's very colorful. Like, she has a blue light on the left, her armor is pink with blue and white, and the background is actually orange. It's a very bright orange. So you look at it and it looks badass. It looks fucking epic. But at the same time, it's very vibrant, and it gives like another sort of vibe. It's like uplifting and sort of happy colors, so to say. If you look at the one that I'm doing right now, she has red lights on her left and on her right. The background is gray, dull. The color itself makes it look like the mood. It brings the mood down immediately. It's a very dark piece, like very brooding. I made a sketch 2 years ago due to Halloween, and the picture was the original picture. The reference was just a girl sitting on a bench with her hands laying on her lap and looking to the left. And it was on a sunny day and everything. I grabbed the picture, I put a red background on it and fading to black, and then I gave her tears, I gave her a bloody lip, And that's the entire difference in mood and light. Like, one picture is happy day in the park, the other is somebody punched me and I want revenge. Like illumination can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Make a huge difference.
Aaron, you want to contribute anything before I start again?
I thought you were hosting, Aaron.
I am very much out of my element, so I have very little to add. But I will say, I hope at some point tonight we talk about your experience designing for doing graphic art for beer cans.
Oh yeah,
we had talked about that last time, and that was really interesting.
Yeah,
so
last
I want
time.
to talk about that sometime tonight.
Yeah. Well, I can
That
start
sounds
right
like
now.
a perfect segue.
Yeah, I used to work.
I don't want to hold Chris up. I feel like Chris is bursting at the seams with more things to talk about.
Geeky art, yeah.
I mean, like, this is, like, I literally just went to C2, and, like, bought a shit ton of art there because, like, I fucking love artists. Like, I love, being able to support the community. I love unique art, and all that kind of stuff. And, like, I knew that we were having, like, the way the guys, like, kind of called me out and said what we were doing was, like, hey, we're having an artist on who we found on Twitter, who does a bunch of Twitter profile pictures. And I was like, oh, that's fucking rad. And then, like, that's why I asked. I was like, hey, like, let's start off the show. Can you say your handle? And so I immediately, like, went and looked you up, and that's the first time I've seen this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is way, like, what the okay, why didn't nobody link this shit?
Yeah, because Instagram hates me. My Instagram profile has not grown since 2015, and I'm pretty sure it's because, like I said before, a lot of my art is based off nude models. So, Daddy Trump came here. I don't want to get political. Daddy Trump came here, and he said, let's all go back to the dark times. Boobs are the devil. Boobs are the devil. I have the absolute best butts. But I don't want any of this in my house. I don't want any of this in the internet. Because my kid that is playing Fortnite will find those butts. So, no.
Oh my god.
He went, and that was the moment my account died. And it's not like I draw a lot of nude art. I have 3 naked chicks in my entire repertoire. Like 3-4 chicks. That's it. But
God forbid you post one of them, yeah.
Oh, no. Every time I post one of those, trust me, I get shadow banned. And
you get zucked real hard.
It killed a lot of my spirit posting on Instagram. I was like, yeah. And even sometimes I worry a little bit about it because on Twitter, like, I've become friends with some of those models. I become very close with some. So on my Twitter, it's been my Twitter since 2010. So if you go to my followings, I follow, like, some makers, Eager Raptor, blah, blah. And then there's a lot of nude models. And I'm like, I'm worried one of my clients is going to be like, this guy is a perv. And I try not. That's why I never try to retweet anything of that. I try to keep it very professional because I know there's people that find it a little bit sensitive. So I usually don't open conversation with hi, my name is Dezz, I draw naked girls. No matter how much I wish I would be able to open conversations like that.
Right.
But yeah.
Like, that's obviously something that you struggle with, like just publishing any type of art, no matter like the level of lewd that it is, which a lot of your stuff is more artistic. How do you actually, like, combat that? Like, do you host on your own website, or is it mainly all through social media?
Everything is through social media. The issue that I have with a website and everything is basically I'm too slow to post often. And that's another reason why probably my Instagram account, like, is not very well known, is because, like I said, one piece takes me 3 to 4 weeks to complete.
Yeah.
So that literally, like, curbs any chance I have of posting often. Like, I have friends that post daily, and their accounts are huge already. But I think, what am I going to post? Am I gonna post one eye today? Am I gonna post the lips? Or like I cannot post, and I don't want to bore people posting an endless amount of work in progress. I'd rather go big and be like, hey, look, this is an armor girl. Period. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much why, like, I only limit myself to social media. On Twitter last year I had, like, thanks to Amy Double D, she's also an amazing person. I appreciate her a lot for literally starting all of this. She was like,
sure.
hey, what? Oh, sorry. She was like, "Hey, I want you to draw me a sticker," and she posted. Oh, and she also asked me to make a sketch commission of her, like in armor. So I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna draw her Snow White in armor." So
Okay.
I did that, and boom, she posted it, and a lot of people started like getting interested in it. So that with what is MRRF? I don't know.
Yeah, Murph.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last year it kind of blew up a little bit, so like a lot of people started like getting my work. I think you guys had like a month or so ago Tim from TH3D.
Yep.
He also commissioned me like several pieces for his staff. So yeah,
very cool.
yeah, and I appreciated that a lot. So if you're hearing this, Tim, thanks a lot. But yeah, like a lot of my social media went not social media. A lot of my spread was because like mouth to mouth, so to say. Like I was like, hey, this guy is drawing this, hey, and this and that. So yeah, that's pretty
Fair
much
enough,
like
fair enough.
the reach of my stuff.
Got to get that mouth to mouth spread.
Oh yeah,
Especially right now.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Wash your hands. Wash your goddamn hands.
Right.
I need
No,
to
that's
draw
it, like-
something like that. I need to draw something like that right now. It's gonna explode.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
that's your come out piece.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. There's an artist that I'm trying to remember the name of. Somebody take over for a second while I try and remember the name of this guy.
Well,
Well, I can. I don't
Well,
know. I guess
thanks.
I can start talking about what Aaron was saying about the beer cans.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years ago, well, more or less 1 year and a half ago, I was working designing quote unquote limited edition beer cans. It was art for a beer company, and that line of work is extremely different from my usual stuff. Mostly because it's not the same working with screen colors, RGB and all that stuff, than working with Pantone colors. Because if any one of you has a can of beer or anything in front of you, look at it and notice there's only 6 colors on it or less. That's the total amount of colors you can have on a beer can at any given time. So that immediately limits you. It limits you, and it brings out like a very creative way to come up with designs. For example, one that I very much liked was the theme of it was like wind, because it was for a fair in some place. It was like Wind Canyon or something. And I was like, okay, I can only use. Oh, on top of that, you have to keep using the colors of the company. So that immediately takes away 4 colors, more or less, away from your design. So that leaves you with like 2 additional colors to experiment. So I was like, okay, I have the 4 colors of the company. I'm gonna add a blue, like a very, very bright blue, and I'm gonna add a silver color. And out of that, you have to work your way around the Pantone system, because also you can sort of tone down the opacity of a Pantone. Like the less opacity it has, the more white it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But also you have to be careful around it, because sometimes if you go way too pale, the machines are not going to print it. So it depends a lot of the company and like what they're trying to do. But that's a very big challenge, and I've been meaning to try and do that again, to draw, maybe not with Pantone, but like say, hey, I want to draw only 6 colors. Fuck it. But then again, there's always that armor girl at the back of my head, like saying, hey, are you gonna draw me next? Hey. The line is already long, Dezz. You have like 6 chicks waiting here, so who's gonna be next? So I always forget about that. But it's a very, very different line of work. Like designing something for myself that I have no constraints about colors or the I don't know, the quality, so to say, like how much detail I can get into it, than drawing something that is for work and the client needs to print it, and as always he needs it for yesterday, so it cannot be obviously very complex.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Do you ever, talking about like colors, do you ever do like challenges for yourself? Like, I'm going to try to do this with as much detail, but only use shades of a single color or something like that?
Sort of, yeah. I always try to draw. First of all, I always try to make like the next girl not have any of the colors or very different colors from the previous one.
Mm.
But another thing is that this goes hand in hand with color theory. You cannot combine a lot of colors because it's gonna look weird. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I have a good example. 3 years ago, more or less around this, no, in April of 3 years ago, I decided to draw a girl that had like a blue armor. So I usually go like, my rule of thumb, so to say, is there's one primary color, there's a darker shade of that color, then there's black, and then there is a contrast color. And this girl, it was blue, a cyan-ish blue. The undersuit of her armor was like dark gray, and there was accents in gold. The challenge that time that came to bite me in the ass later was that I mistakenly used the same color for shading both blues. So instead of looking like, oh, she has a dark blue and she has the cyan blue, no, it looked the same. All colors look the same. So that's sort of like a little challenge every time, like setting up the armor pieces so almost no armor piece next to each other is the same color, because eventually it's gonna blend together. So it's always like interesting. Like if you go into my Instagram and check, like, I don't know, any of the armor colors of the armor girls, you're gonna notice almost none of them have like, it's rare, but even like, for example, there's one in white that I posted not long ago. She has like only big pieces of white and blue and gray like around it, but it's not like a stormtrooper. Because if you look at the stormtrooper, it's boring. Let's admit it.
Mm-hmm.
I love Star Wars. I grew up with it since I was 6 years old. But the armors are boring on the stormtroopers. So I try to avoid that. I try to be creative with my colors. I try to be like, oh, I don't know. Let's say that I do a diva themed from Overwatch. So I'm gonna be like, okay, she's pink, blue, pastel pink, and white. So that's my color challenge right there. I have to make something work with only those 4 colors plus black plus her skin tone plus her hair color, because sometimes you can play with the hair color. Like if you have a girl with red hair, you can make the lights red, or you can go for a complementary color from that. It's a lot of color theory. I'm obsessed with color theory.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's...
You got any more questions, Aaron?
I don't. Maybe, what do you use for hardware for
I actually
creating your
had
art?
to change my Wacom a couple of weeks ago. I always use a Wacom.
Cintiq?
No, I mean it was. I'm not that. Sorry, I'm not rich. No, I used to have a 2008 Bamboo. It was like a gray Bamboo, but the problem is that OS X. What am I running? Mojave. Mojave doesn't go well with 2008 Wacom drivers. And the problem is that Wacom, instead of being like, hey, we're gonna give you support for those drivers because we're good guys, they're like, no, fuck you, we're gonna make you spend $150 on a new fucking Wacom because fuck you. And yeah, like, I mean, it was 12 years old. Even a friend of mine was like, dude, don't be cheap, just buy a new one. That one is very old. So
It's time to upgrade.
It's time to upgrade, and yeah, like I bought a new Intuos Medium.
Okay.
It's very good. But like it has some quirks here and there, but it's very good. My main computer is like it's a 2018 MacBook Pro 15-inch. I had to save literally for an entire year to get one. And before anybody's like, oh my god, but Mac's overpriced, the Windows. Let me tell you something. The moment you look at the screen of a Mac, you go, whoa. And
yeah, with the Retina display especially.
Yeah, and as a graphic designer, like, I was using, and I still use, is the one that I'm recording in right now. It's a 2010 MacBook Pro 13-inch. This thing still kicks. This thing still kicks a lot.
Those were good laptops. I
need to open it up and clean it because it's like it has asthma or coronavirus already. every time I start working on a sticker, you can hear the exhaust going. Zzz, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give you 15 minutes to rest.
Right.
but like the moment I switched from this one to the Retina one, I was like, holy shit, the colors, they're pumping my eyes out. Oh my god. And like that's where your money goes. That, and well, obviously it's thin and everything. It's a pretty computer. I'm not gonna say it's not a pretty computer. But that's my main machine. The smaller MacBook Pro is where I do my stickers. My reasoning for that is I don't want to use all the juice on the 15-inch one to make a smaller sticker. So, and that way I can. It's too much. It's like asking Hulk to squash an ant.
But it'll squash it real damn good.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. No, also the other reason is that sometimes I work in other places. So I would very much rather take a 2010 MacBook with me than something that cost me literally a kidney.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna hurt less. It's gonna hurt less if something happens to a smaller computer than something that is quite expensive. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. Oh, and recently I got an iPad. It's a basic, like, I think it's a 9-inch iPad, I think. And I started using it just like, I was like, what the hell is this? You're gonna be my Netflix machine because I cannot draw in this. But out of nowhere, like, after watching but paying attention to, that's another advice for artists. If you want to get better, pay attention to other artists, to what they're doing, Like, not in a competitive way, not in like, this guy's so good, I'm trash. Just look at the technique. If they have any work in progress videos, like time lapses, just look at them. Because just by watching time lapses, I started like doing art that I never expected to do on an iPad. Like, literally, I've drawn like 3 pieces already on my iPad, and I'm like, holy shit! I never expected to draw like this on this tiny little thing, and it has obviously the huge advantage of being so portable. So like, you just slap it into like literally a bag and just take it somewhere. So it helps a lot.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Does the PlayStation count as hardware? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it
You'll
did.
find us fighting you on it.
Yeah, I can't play Destiny on the MacBook, so yeah.
Oh man. Well, we're almost at an hour. Do we want to call it and then definitely have a part 2 someday where I ask you even more questions stupidly?
Hey, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Like,
Probably.
You guys have any more?
I'm good.
All right. I'm good.
Well,
guess we're,
I'll take it up. Man, Dezz, it's been awesome talking to you. Thank you for coming on.
yeah, no problem. It's been cool. It's been. I feel more confident than last time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm completely sober.
Good.
I have to thank my woozy ass stomach that doesn't let me drink lately for this. I'm completely sober, so
No, absolutely.
yeah.
I'm glad
thanks for
I
having
could
me,
be on
guys.
this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. It's been awesome. Again, you can find your work at where?
On Instagram is Dezz259 DZZ259, and on Twitter you can find me as Dezz Malone. Remember, it's always with 2 Z's. Sass.
Yep.
So yeah, you can find me there.
Sass.
If you want anything done, just shoot me. You can slide into those DMs, and I'll be happy.
Absolutely.
I'll be happy to help and just be like, hey, we'll work things out. And right now,
Absolutely.
I'm pretty much always open to commissions. So you can be sure you can be certain that I'll be up to the challenge.
You may very much actually have a commission coming very soon because we are looking for stickers for my partner's Wonder Woman. So,
dude, I'll be more than glad to help. I'll be more than glad to help. So,
there is a very very high chance I may be commissioning you off screen. So.
Nice. Thanks.
But thank you everybody who listen. Again, if you want to see us on other stuff, find our Facebook, look at our Reddit, find us on Twitter. We talk a lot on there, except me because I'm lame. But thank you so much for sticking through and just listening to this awesome conversation. And at this point, I will let the other guys sign us off.
If I may say one last thing, I want to thank someone who's also helped me push my limits a lot.
For sure.
Her name's Ellie. If you're listening to this and whenever it comes out, thanks for giving me the most difficult piece I've drawn last year. Because your piece was a roller coaster and you know it, but thanks for always supporting me and for being such a kind person. So, yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, gentlemen.
This is the end of the podcast.